Thank you. Well, we're honored to have you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. And as Laura, she mentioned about IERG. I was just wondering. I know we have administrators who are a part of the group, to advise and work with us, and we have meetings, etc. Once in a while. I don't know, since you're showing your interest, would you be a part of that? Then we're happy to talk to the OIE and have you on board with us, and we can work and collaborate for international, grants, collaborations, etc.
Yeah.
Is that something?
I'm absolutely happy to do that. I do want to tell you in full transparency, I recognize my limitations as an administrator. And what
Sure.
I mean by that is there are certain times when you want to just talk as faculty and you don't want an administrator in the room. And I totally respect that, right? So on the occasions that you want me engaged and you want me at the table and working with you all and promoting things, I'm happy to do that. But if there's ever discussions you want to have without, a member of the administration there, that's okay too. And I totally respect that.
Perfect, perfect. So without further delay, thank you so much for doing this for us on such a short notice. So a quick introduction about Dr. David C. Weindorf. He currently serves as Vice President for Research and Economic Development at Georgia Southern University. Dr. Weindorf holds a BS in Range Management, MS in Social Science, and a PhD in Agronomy from Texas Tech University. He's a fellow and presidential award winner of the Soil Science Society of America, having served as chair of the pedology section in 2016. He's a licensed Texas professional geoscientist and currently serves on the editorial boards of Pedosphere and Geoderma. As a scientist and Fulbright scholar, Dr. Weindorf has worked in more than 30 countries, published more than 200 peer-reviewed research papers in top international journals. Dr. Weindorf's research team provided emergency response to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and Gold King mine spill, the latter of which he was called upon to offer testimony to the U.S. Senate. Holder of 5 awarded patents, Dr. Weindorf is widely considered an international authority in proximal sensor characterization of soil, having authored multiple methods papers for successful proximal sensor use. He is executive producer of the acclaimed documentary film Between Earth and Sky, Climate Change on the Last Frontier. Previously, Dr. Weindorf served as Associate Vice President of Research at TTU, Associate Dean of Research, and B.L. Allen Endowed Chair of Pedology in the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources, an Associate Professor and Assistant Professor of Soil Classification Land Use at Louisiana State University. So thank you so much, David, for doing this for us. And if I've missed out anything, you want to share about yourself, because this is tremendous.
You hit the highlights. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'd much rather save time for the end so we can
Sure.
have some discussion amongst everybody. So thank you all for the invitation to come and be with you today. And it's such a pleasure to be your Vice President for Research and Economic Development. I came down to you from Central Michigan University, where I held a similar role for 4 years. And it's just great to be back in the South. I'm a product of Texas. So being back in a country where you say y'all and people don't look at you funny is really nice. So I really do appreciate that. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about our evolution of the Georgia Southern Research Enterprise. And these are some slides that I originally put together to share at the Leadership Development Institute at the beginning of the semester. So I'm going to go through these kind of quickly so we have enough time for some discussion at the end. So without further ado, I'll move forward with those. So the first thing we have to think about with our research enterprise is knowing who we are, right? What are our strengths? What are we known for today? And what do we want to be known for tomorrow? How do we realize our aspirations and realize that the things that have sustained us over the past 30 years to where we are today will not get us to mid-century? We're going to have to evolve. We're going to have to evolve with the world around us. And so these are important considerations as we consider the evolution of the enterprise. You can think about, who does Carnegie say we are? We have an aspiration as a university to become a Carnegie R1 institution. So who do they think we are? Now, these numbers are a little bit dated. I have fall 2020 here. You know that we're north of 27,000 students as of this fall. I think we're at about 27,300. We're a doctoral university of high research activity, a strong R2 with a very high undergraduate student population. We're a research doctoral university that is professionally dominant in terms of our doctoral programs, a 4-year large, primarily residential university. A lot of these words that they used to describe us will sound familiar. Well, to understand how we advance, we need to thoroughly comprehend our own productivity, our weak spots, and our opportunities. We need to realize how we compare to other peer institutions. And as your vice president for research, one way I do that is to commonly look at how we're performing relative to other schools in the Sun Belt Athletic Conference and at other Georgia public universities. And we need an evolution in how we view ourselves, right? Traditionally, we've been a teaching-based university dating back 100 years almost. Now, though, we're a comprehensive university with a rising national reputation built upon teaching, research, and service. In essence, we can walk in, chew gum at the same time. We can still be a great teaching university while also being a research powerhouse. And that's the university that I look forward to continuing to build with you. If we look at the numbers of who we are as a university today, and I pulled some numbers here from SciVal from 2021 to 2024, just the last 3 or 4 years, you'll see that the majority of our research publication outputs are in the areas of the social sciences, 26.8%. 18.8% of our research output would be in fields of medicine. And you think about our physical therapy programs, community health, things of the like. That makes a lot of sense. Engineering, a lot of the STEM fields you see over there, environmental science, chemistry, physics, astronomy, computer science, they round out a big portion of the circle as well. But if you think to yourself, okay, we have all these different areas, which fields are having the most impact? You probably have a sense of that in your mind, but would it surprise you to know that with the exception of chemical engineering, the arts and humanities, social sciences, psychology, business management, and accounting have the highest field-weighted citation impact of disciplines on our campus. So several of our non-STEM fields are having an outstanding positive impact in terms of our total impact on our communities that we serve. And this is driving our overall university impact up, which is a really good thing. And then certainly we have chemical engineering there, chemistry, health professions, energy, material sciences, a lot of the STEM fields as well, certainly above 1.0. But it's interesting to see how some of the non-STEM fields play in as well. If we look at all of the areas in which we produce scholarly output, you'll notice that a number of the areas in which we are prominently featured align very nicely with some of our research centers and institutes. So do we not have the world's largest collection of ticks on loan from the Smithsonian Institution? In fact, we do in Statesboro, Georgia. And so you'll notice that we have a large area of expertise there. Our College of Public Health is very strongly represented and aligns with our Institute for Health Logistics and Analytics. Our Tactical Athlete Program aligns very well with our athletics prowess and some of our publications there. Supply chain connects very nicely to supply chain management, industry and airline, aviation, those types of things. Well, another thing I want to show you next is our total research expenditures. And you'll notice we're the blue line here. These are all of our total research expenditures as per the NSF HERD survey. And I plotted this back for the last 12 years or so. And you'll notice that in 2021, we had a large uptick in research expenditures. We went from around 10 million to north of 35 million in 1 year. How did that happen? Well, this was because the university, in consultation with the NSF, decided to start counting a portion of every faculty member's salary that has a research expectation. Part of their salary counts as a research expenditure. And across campus, just generally speaking, it's about 30% that we count of most people. Their salary would count towards a research expenditure because there are research expectations imposed upon them. So this is not something unusual. Many other universities in the United States do this, and not having done this prior to 2021 was putting us at a competitive disadvantage. Now this year, this past fiscal year, FY24, I can tell you that we were at 43 million in terms of our total research expenditures. So we went up from 40 million to 43 million, which was a good way to increase. But if you look back a couple of years prior to that, from 2021 to 2022, we actually decreased in our ranking position from 227 to 236. So we need to reverse this trend and start moving our way back up in terms of total research expenditures. And I have us plotted here relative to the other peer institutions as self-identified by the president's office. You can search for those online. Well, if we look at where we are in terms of our federal research expenditures, you'll note that we're very low. And this is an area that we as a university need to collectively address. For a university our size, we are significantly underleveraged in terms of our federal research awards. Of that 43 million, only around $3.5 million are federal research awards. We need to clearly be up in the area of 15 to 20 million. And this is coming from NIH, NSF, Department of Defense, Department of Education, any number of these federal agencies, EPA, all of them, soup to nuts. We need to be doing a better job of competing for these federal awards. So there's going to be a real focus that we place on this moving forward to make sure that we're more competitive in this space. Again, you see how we rate here relative to our peer institutions. Again, our herd ranking decreased from 2021 to 2022, from 379 back to 413. So we need to be moving in the other direction. Let's talk about scholarly output versus peer institutions. Here, we're actually doing really well. We're at about 700 scholarly outputs per year. We're on trend to be about 710 this year. And you'll notice that's the second highest that we have been all time. We're the orange line here in this plot. Back in 2019, we hit our all-time high, which is around 750. But there are actually only 3 other peer institutions identified by the president's office that are surpassing us in terms of our scholarly output. So this is peer-reviewed publications, peer-reviewed conference proceedings, books, book chapters, things of that nature. So we're doing really well. But if we look at our aspirational institutions, those institutions that the president's office has identified as schools that we want to become like, you'll notice there that we're actually only ahead of one university, that being Illinois State. Everybody else that is an aspirational institution is ahead of us. So that gives us room to grow, and clearly we want to continue to see these numbers move up as time goes by. Well, if I were to ask you what our top collaborating institutions are, sure, many of you would say the University of Georgia. You'd be right on with that. Maybe University of Florida, Auburn, okay, they're kind of in our area. Would you have guessed that Arizona State University, the University of Cincinnati, and the Chinese Academy of Sciences are among the top 10 universities that we collaborate with throughout the United States and around the world? Most people wouldn't have identified that, but these are the types of trends that we're looking at to better understand who we are, who we're partnering with, and who we have a potential to leverage additional partnerships with in the future. One of the things that you're going to hear me repeatedly mention in my plea to the campus community, and this hits really well at home with this group, is international engagement and the importance of such. If we look at our scholarly output in terms of where we're publishing, over the last 4 to 5 years, 32.6% of our scholarly output has featured international collaboration. And those publications have had on average around 13 citations per publication for a field-weighted citation impact of 1.67. Okay? When you look at papers that were only with authors within the United States, okay, which is 42%, notice the number of citations per publications is cut in half to 4.7. And the field-weighted citation impact is only 1.01. And when we work only within Georgia Southern, or maybe we only author a paper by ourselves, look at what that does to citations per publication and the field-weighted citation impact. Those numbers drop off dramatically. Again, this field-weighted citation impact is the relative measure of an impact of a work within the field of study. And within any field of study, that worldwide average is set to 1.00. So if you're below that, you're not meeting the worldwide average. If you're above that, you're beating the worldwide average. I'll also point out at the bottom, our academic corporate collaboration, while it's only a tiny amount, 1.3% of our work, the field-weighted citation impact there is 2.19, with an average of 23 citations per publication. Look at how that extends over into our academic and medical collaborations. 2.2% of our publications feature that academic medical collaboration, but again, the FWCI is 2.27. So a huge positive impact to our overall rankings caused by just a few papers in these areas. So they're very important to us. Well, most of us have heard of U.S. News and World Report. In fact, we are ranked now as one of the best in their annual ranking of best universities in the United States. But beyond U.S. News and World Report, fewer people are familiar with the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, of which Georgia Southern is currently in the bracket of 1201 to 1500. Again, this is 1201 to 1500 universities in the world. So that's still pretty good company. But there are other ranking systems that are also equally compelling. The Quacquarelli-Simons or QS World University Rankings, and the Academic Ranking of World Universities, also known as the Shanghai Ranking, are important systems that we are seeking to become ranked in years ahead to continue to improve our reputation worldwide. I want to just unpack for you briefly what goes into a ranking system like this. So for the Times Higher Education, 30% of the ranking score comes from teaching, the reputation survey, staff to student ratio, doctorate to bachelor's ratio, etc. 30% comes from the research, volume, income, reputation. 30% comes from the citations. This speaks to our research influence, right? Another 7.5% comes from our international outlook, our international to domestic student ratio, international to domestic staff ratio, international collaborations, and another 2.5% comes from our engagement with industry. So, knowing all of this about who we are as a university, know where we are at now, we know where we've been, where do we want to go as a university? Tell you, we have a lot of positives working in our favor. I would not have moved my family all the way across the country from Michigan if I didn't believe in this university. We've got so many good things working in our favor. We're a well-established, high-performing Carnegie R2 university. We have positive trends in research expenditures going from 40 up to 43 million. We have an award-winning business innovation group. We have our new medical and dental school partnerships with Augusta University through the Medical College of Georgia. We have new centers and institutes that we've brought online, our Times Higher Education ranking for the 3rd consecutive year. So we're approaching R1 status, which in Carnegie terms means we have to have $50 million in total research expenditures and 70 research doctorates. And we have the 70 doctorates already. We're right at the line. We're at that 43 million right now in total research expenditures. So I'm going to reach out to Laura after this meeting and put $7 million on her credit card, just so we can get it to that total research expenditures of 50 million. I'll get some airline miles on that, I hope. So, all right. But after all of this stuff, all of this good stuff, there are challenges, right? And we've all had these days where our head buried in our hands, right? Balancing time for teaching, research, and service. And we know we have heavy teaching loads at Georgia Southern. Our research infrastructure, there are some things that we need that we don't have, or we have equipment that's broken and we need to replace it or get it fixed. Support for grad and undergrad students. Maybe they need to go to conferences or collect data or things of that nature. Financial support to start or continue research. So this is startup packages. This is, again, maintaining programs. What if there's a person who's grant funded, but then the grant runs out and their next grant doesn't start for another 6 months? We got to have gap funding or something like that, right? Faculty morale, and some of this relates to mental health, being stressed and feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. Lack of incentives. Hey, no matter what I do, I don't get any recognition, things of that nature. Listen, I'm just going to tell you, there's 1,000 reasons to give in to fear. Okay, anybody can do that. I challenge everybody on this call to lock that away in a box, far from your heart. I will tell you at my core, I'm an optimist. There are days when I'm frustrated and pissed off like everybody else, right? Because stuff just happens, right? But on the whole, I view the glass as half full. I always think that our best days are yet to come. And I believe in the future of our institution and the future of higher education. We have an important role to play in delivering that. So let me tell you, I spent time in Southern Louisiana early in my career at LSU. And down in Southern Louisiana, they have a word called lagniappe. And what that means is a baker's dozen, okay? You might know it as a little bit extra, right? Just a little bit extra. Baker's dozen, you ask for 12 cookies and you get 13, right? And everybody likes to have that happen, right? So this helps us to come together as a university. And when I think about the research enterprise, what I'm thinking about is for us to achieve that next goal, what we need is a little bit extra, not a lot. I'm not asking you to, double your output or anything. Give me just a little bit extra, right? So imagine, could faculty author or co-author one more publication than last year? Let me set the stage for this real quick. Just give me a 20-second timeout. Remember, we were at around 700 publications, scholarly outputs, right? We have 850 faculty. If 10% of our faculty, 10%, authored or co-authored one more paper than they did last year, we would set a new university record. Okay? And by, providing this type of authorship, I'm not suggesting that a person has to sit down and write a 40-page missive. I mean, to be a co-author on a paper, maybe you have to write a couple of pages to, have your name there. We're just using generalities. But I'm just saying that's what I'm talking about. A little bit extra, right? Could the faculty author one more grant proposal than last year? Could they target the next higher caliber journal for their work? Boost their awarded grants by some percentage? Could we disclose one more technology and potential commercialization? Mentor one more student than we did last year? Hell, could the football team get us one more win than last year, especially against the dreaded Georgia State, right? How do we do this? How do we grow the research and innovation enterprise of the university? Well, let me give you an example. And I'm gonna set the stage first with this. This is what I call the multiplicative effect. Imagine, for Carnegie classification, securing a grant which results in higher total research expenditures by funding a research doctoral student. That's phenomenal. We've killed two birds with one stone. We've got higher total research expenditures and we've helped produce a research doctorate, right? But imagine beyond that, for research ranking impacts and Carnegie, that we secure a grant which results in higher total research expenditures by funding a research doctoral student whose research project features international dimensionality, results in 2 to 3 peer-reviewed research publications as chapters of the dissertation, which touch on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. See, in doing that, we've just killed 5 birds with one stone. We're able to do many different things, check many different boxes by doing the same project if we've thought it out well in advance and understand how to hit all those touch points along the way. Okay? Well, the Office of Research and Economic Development offers a variety of professional development activities and trainings throughout the year. We're here to help. Our research advocates, our faculty fellows are here to help you with these endeavors. Okay? They help answer questions, provide training. Maybe you don't know how to complete your science CV, or you need to help with some city training modules or things of this nature, right? I mean, there's many different ways that our staff can help, and that's what we're here to do, is be advocates for you. Well, some of the ways that I see us growing the research enterprise are to focus on grants development. This is proactively seeking grant opportunities, matching our faculty to those grants, building teams both internally and between institutions for what I call large and complex submissions, providing feedback and help with grant resubmission after declination. We have to have a firm commitment to this. Statistics will show time and again, not only at this university, but at every other university in America, that when you have submitted that grant proposal and it's declined, if you resubmit it, you have a better chance of getting it approved the second time, and even a better chance of getting it approved the third time you submit it. Because every time along the way, you're improving the proposal, you're addressing reviewer comments, you're strengthening it. And so the inclination for most people is when you get bad news, I'm just going to wad that up and throw it in the trash, to heck with it, I'm done, right? But that's the time when you really need to dig in and say, hey, I'm fully committed. The next time this call comes up, I'm absolutely going to go back and I'm going to address those comments, and we're going to get that funding in here. We use Grant Forward to help us with this. The Office of Research, since I've been here, has taken out a new work queue with Hanover Research to help in, again, large and complex grant submission. There are 3 other work queues across campus with Hanover as well to help in those same areas. I'm encouraging deans and chairs to use their discretion in reducing teaching loads for faculty who are heavily research active. I sat in the room with all of the deans, and I heard Provost Reiber tell the deans directly, I am giving you the authority and the discretion to adjust teaching loads based on research productivity. Use it. He is actively encouraging those folks to use that. So we do have people who are doing more research than others, and those people should have a lighter teaching load. And on the other end of the scale, we have people who don't have much interest in research, and those folks will have a heavier teaching load, and that's okay too, right? We need both at the university, and they can actually help each other out throughout the process. Promoting scholarly achievements. Our office is working proactively with university communications and marketing to optimize communication of the good work being done by our faculty and students. We just hired, the Office of Research just hired a media relations specialist in Mary Dillard. And if you have cool new stuff coming out, papers, publications, performances, exhibits, grants, whatever you're doing that you'd like to highlight, please send those our way and let us get those out on social media, put them on our website, put them in our newsletter, and highlight all of the good work that our faculty are doing. We need to encourage mentorship, learning from the movers, shakers, and rainmakers. This could be senior faculty helping junior faculty through mentorship. And our faculty mentorship of graduate students and postdocs, showing them the do's and don'ts. I've always considered my doctoral students and my postdocs as quasi-colleagues, right? Bringing them in the loop on grant development, proposal writing, professional networks, engaging them in our professional societies as members, and really showing them the importance of novel, scholarly, and creative activities in distinguishing themselves professionally. We need to be cautious about how we're using research assistants. For research doctorates, we have to be as laser focused on this, carefully balancing our funding of master's and doctoral support, fully cognizant that only doctoral students count towards our Carnegie R1 status. Georgia Southern has long been a university which has had many master's programs and has prioritized and valued those, and we still value those. But you have to realize that from the Carnegie classification for R1, masters don't count. So we have to divert some of that funding over to doctoral programs to make sure that we meet those 70 research doctorates annually. We need to reward our highly productive faculty. I would love to see a program where academicians who routinely go above and beyond scholarly expectations are rewarded for that. So just as an example, I'm posing this as a question, not as I'm setting policy today. But what if we had a situation where a faculty member goes out and secures a grant to cover a GA for 2 years? Maybe the university could then use some internal funds to cover the 3rd year of that doctoral student, something along those lines. We'll look into those programs collectively with Dean Kraft and others. And an increased focus on international partnerships. It's really important. Targeted efforts towards engagement with international collaborators, the impact being what I talked with you previously about, with the field-weighted high citation impact being higher in those areas. Recruit talented faculty and students, not only regionally, but beyond, getting the word out. Listen, I love the folks from Southeastern Georgia. They're fantastic. But we also need to recruit nationally and internationally as well, helping to get that word out. That the blend of our faculty-student interaction, our mentorship, high-caliber research opportunity, and value are second to none. I just went out and did a quick little search, and I found this paper published recently from a faculty member in health sciences and kinesiology, Brian Ryman. It has 1,422 citations. I mean, that kind of stuff does wonders for our reputation as a university. Strongly promoting our scholarly and creative activities of our students and faculty and our R1 aspirations. And applying the 7-year rule on our hallway displays. This is just kind of a bugaboo of mine, right? When you walking through the hallway and you see the bulletin board there that says new publications, and they're sort of on faded, tattered paper, and you look at the date and it says 2014. That's not a good look for us. So we have to make sure that those displays are up to date with the latest stuff that we have coming out and really convey our best foot forward always. Okay. I've talked a lot about things that you might think would be totally inclined toward the STEM fields, but I want to let you know that the non-STEM fields are really important to the university as well. We have to look for non-traditional sources of research. Data is everywhere. We need to use that. Surveys, trend analysis, existing data sets, all kinds of different databases out there. I will tell you, as a soil scientist, I approach this position as a STEM scientist, right? But I very much value the scholarly and creative arts as well, education, humanities. I am a soil scientist, a STEM scientist, who again has produced an Emmy-nominated documentary film. So I walked through a lot of those film festivals and working with musicians and graphic artists and stuff like that. I have a keen appreciation for all of the amazing stuff people in those fields do, right? So we need to innovatively promote their contributions to a well-balanced university, our community, and the world. I would just throw up a couple of examples here, right? Maybe good is a campus performance or presentation. Maybe better is signing a publishing deal with Sony Music and being a finalist on American Idol. Maybe best is selling 75 million records and being a 5-time Entertainer of the Year. What do these people have in common? 2 of the 3 of them were non-STEM majors, right? Will Mosley was in biology, but Cole Swindell and Luke Bryan were not STEM folks, right? But I would say they've had a tremendously positive outsized impact in terms of bringing visibility to our campus. So we need to work on promoting student research and engagement, showcasing student success, getting them to present at conferences, completing that first peer-reviewed research paper. That is such a monumental step in every student's academic journey. that first major exhibitor performance, all of those things are amazing moments that we need to celebrate at GS4 and beyond. We need to continue to grow our international engagement, focusing not only on what's hot now, but on emerging countries as well. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, I was at Wexford and I met my counterpart at SCTU, and we're doing a great job of linking up with them. And that's going to be a jumping off point for us to get into Europe, right? And you can see by looking at the map of our current engagements, we have relative strength in Asia as well as Europe, but we have a lot of room to grow in the Middle East, in Africa, and in South America. Brazil is a rapidly advancing country with substantial research investments. India is a country with strong U.S. ties and stable relations, with a lot to offer in terms of research relationships. There's many other countries that fall into that category. So I definitely want to encourage international, but we don't want everyone going to Western Europe. We need to branch out throughout the world. So to that end, I did fund 10 research study abroad engagements this year with faculty in every college who will take students to an international country, do a data collection, come back and publish a paper or have that signature performance. Our office also worked with the President's Office and with the Graduate College to establish a Presidential Research Fellows Program. And these are going to be the cream of the crop. We've funded 2 students this year, but we're anticipating that this program will grow in the years ahead. Providing research experiences for undergraduates, mentorship opportunities, leadership development, engaged scholarship, so many different things that will help us give transformative experiences to our students. You all know we have an award-winning business innovation group who specializes in commercialization and tech transfer. This is led by Dominique Halby, and we're doing this in new and innovative ways, sort of a centralized presence in Statesboro with satellite offices utilizing technology to really engage people in rural communities in new ways. Growing our patent portfolio by emphasizing new technology disclosure and proactively marketing that technology through SBIR, STTR, Tech Connect, and public-private partnerships, so-called P3s. Okay? You'll notice that I've been working a lot on research communications. We hired our media relations specialist. We have my newsletter coming out regularly, Elevating Excellence, where we're trying to highlight all of the good work going on across the university. I've reached out to Georgia Public Broadcasting to position us more favorably with them and try to get more of our stories on air statewide through their network. I'm working with University Communications right now to develop some research hype videos, which I think are going to be really great and really celebrate a lot of the creative scholarly work going on across campus. And I've started what I call a series of research leadership discussions. We had the first one September 12th. I think we had 130 people attend that one. We have another one set November 13th and February 13th and April 10th. And so this is my chance to really communicate with the faculty, engage with them, unpack an aspect of the research enterprise, let them sort of peek behind the curtain a little bit and let them understand and know how we calculate F&A. What does international engagement look like? What's an IRB? I mean, all kinds of things that we deal with in the research office. We want to be able to help people understand that in a new and tangible way. Of course, we've stood up our Georgia Southern Scholars website, which is an externally facing experts database with more than 35,000 searchable records in it of all of our scholarly output. And this helps answer questions of who does a faculty member work with? Or how can I find the latest Georgia Southern research? Or where do Georgia Southern faculty conduct their research throughout the world, right? You can easily query this information with just a few keystrokes and pull that up. And I would encourage you all to use this as one wonderful, fantastic resource. We're looking at new ways to recognize faculty pursuing external awards, whether they get that first NIH R1 or a Fulbright Scholar or Fulbright Specialist to get their career award. We'd also like to develop some new internal awards for patents, book awards, things of that nature. First federally competitive grant that they receive. We want to celebrate people and let them know we really appreciate their hard work. And in all that we do, it's really important that we never sacrifice the safe and responsible conduct of research. We have to emphasize this not only with our faculty, but also educate our graduate and undergraduate researchers. It is so true that students watch what we as faculty do, and they will emulate what they observe. So if we take shortcuts as the leaders, as the faculty members, that's what the students are going to do. And as soon as they get out to the working world, they're going to take those shortcuts and people are going to say, where did you graduate from? Where did you learn that? Don't you know you have to wear a lab coat in here? We can't take shortcuts with those kinds of things. We have to be leaders in that regard. So some projects on the horizon. I've got just 5 slides left, and I'll be wrapping up. We're going to be updating our faculty research expenditure percentage to actual faculty appointments to allay any audit concerns. We want to establish an equitable F&A distribution policy, which balances institute and college needs. We'll really have a strong focus this next year on optimizing grant processing to eliminate redundant data entry, establishing advanced accounts for spending on federal awards. I've already actually accomplished that, and that's a huge step forward. Sometimes people know an award is coming, but we haven't actually received the money yet, but we're now able to establish that advanced account and get them started with the research with the promise that the funds are going to be coming in. Eliminating the discrepancy between anticipated and actual fringe encumbrances, and developing real-time reporting dashboards for proposals and awards. So departments, colleges, deans, the provost, the president, myself, we all know in real time how every department, every college is performing, and we can clearly see where we're knocking it out of the park and where we have areas that we need to continue to grow in. We need to work on augmenting our campus safety programs and culture, develop a coordinated equipment maintenance program, and we have a position description out right now where we're looking to hire a research security specialist as we seek to expand our research in non-fundamental research areas as well. So to do this, we got to meet the people who are going to make it happen, get out there. And this is why I'm always having coffee with people, just kind of keeping my finger on the pulse of what's going on across campus, assimilate new ideas into our strategic plans, new contacts, new opportunities. You know, we're standing up new programs in biomedical research and urban agriculture and things of this nature. Identify and engage early adopters. You know, these are the people who are standing in line to get the new iPhone. They don't even care what it does. It's just new. And so they're really like wanting that, clamoring for that. I need those same kind of people who are really interested and eager to engage with research to just jump on with us. And let's really get to making hay together, celebrating successes together and adapting as needed, whether budgets or investments. Listen, nobody saw COVID coming in 2019. It just sort of popped out of left field and we had to deal with it. So I'll give you a quote here from Charles Kellogg, the soil scientist, not the cereal guy. And Charles Kellogg said, "No management plan should ever become so sacred or so classical that the system becomes an end in itself. It should always remain a tool for use, to be sharpened or to be replaced as the attainment of our objectives in applying science demands." Basically, be flexible, right? We have to adapt. We need to set ambitious yet realistic goals for scholarly and creative activity and growth. I think it's much better to fall short while reaching than to set the bar too low. And we have to remain positive and optimistic. That's who I am as a person. And I try to lead with that and let that permeate throughout the entire research enterprise. And I want those ripples to move on out to the colleges and the departments as well, so that everyone catches that optimism and says, hey, together, there's nothing we can't do. In terms of our scholarly output, where do we want to be in 5, 10, 20 years? And what will it take to get us there? Building the infrastructure, supporting new faculty lines, reducing teaching loads to help us do more research and accomplish that, hiring additional support staff. I've heard a lot about that from colleges over the last few months. Forming new partnerships. Already we're a pilot program member with the Council on Governmental Relations, which has provided us new access to materials and all sorts of different policy statements and briefs that are helping us make sure we stay federally compliant with the law. We are currently pursuing membership in the Georgia Research Alliance. I think there is a better than even chance that we will become members in the next year. So the president and Annalee Ashley and I are working with others to positively position us. There's some politics involved with this, as you can imagine, and making sure that we get the background set for a positive vote there, which should be forthcoming. And then, the old saying holds true, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. So it's really important for us to engage with stakeholders at every level, local, state, federal, international, corporate, our alumni, right? That networking is so important. I want to give a shout out to our federal relations team, Annalee Ashley, Brian Harris, our folks that we work with at Troutman Pepper in Washington, D.C., folks that help us in Atlanta. Corporate and community relations, Kendria has been phenomenal to help us in that regard. There are many others, Reinhold and just a number of folks across campus. So we need to continue to have an outward-facing engagement with the community. That's really important through performance series, hosting of science and engineering fairs, career development events. I was, on campus just last week, and I stopped by some of the campus recruiting events where all the employers come to campus. There were like hundreds of students over there. I took some pictures of that, put it up on my LinkedIn. It was really, really amazing. So in closing, I would just encourage everybody to think bigger, right? There's a key difference between those who aspire and those who don't. And I want all of us to be the former, not the latter, right? We want to bring growth, exploration, excitement, innovation, evolution, and just genuine enjoyment to complement our intellectual curiosity that defines the academy writ large. Know that our doors are always open. We're here to serve you. We're a service-oriented group, and we value your input. I can't say yes to everything, but one of the mantras that I have in my office is, let us be kind when we can and firm when we must, right? I can't bend federal law or state law or things like that, but when we have the opportunity to help people, we try to do that. I want us to lift each other up in our scholarly and creative activities and let the world know the great work produced right here at Georgia Southern. So thank you all so much for letting me present to you today, and I'll stop there and be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, David, for doing this for us. And, if you have any questions, the floor is open. Anybody? Felix, if you're here, I know you had some questions, please.
Yeah, fire away.
If
Don't
not,
be shy.
if not, may I go ahead and ask you one? So you mentioned about balancing time for research, teaching, and service. So how are we looking at this? Specific to, especially related to departments, because
Yeah, it's different in every field. It's hard for me to answer that in sort of a one answer fits all sort of circumstance, right? What I can tell you is I was a faculty member for 20 years, and I'm also a dad. I have 2 kids that I raised, and a lot of it comes down to where you put your priorities and how you balance your time. In our family, I put a huge emphasis on work-life balance, such that we were always home every evening at 5 o'clock around the dinner table having dinner together. That was just a family thing for us. And I mean, it sounds silly. I'm just giving you a couple of personal examples here, right? But our family has always been very adventurous, and we as a family have been all in on my career in academia specifically. So whether that was the family joining me in Romania when I was a Fulbright scholar, or my kids have conducted research with me. I mean, done sort of like a science fair project with my kids, but we wound up expanding that and actually publishing peer-reviewed papers out of that. I mean, things of that nature. There's so many ways that you can utilize things going on campus to benefit your family in amazing ways, right? And I'm not suggesting that it needs to be like 100% all the time, like all you're doing is university stuff, but our family's been incredibly blessed to have had those opportunities. My kids have sat at dinner and had conversations with U.S. ambassadors to foreign countries. I mean, who gets those kinds of opportunities? Like, it's just been amazing. So what I would say is take time to unplug. I think that's really important. And when you unplug, right? But by the same token, I also think we have people that sometimes come to Georgia Southern and they feel like when they reach a certain level in their career that they have to leave Georgia Southern and go somewhere bigger to like expand their career. And what I want to tell all of you is I'm 100% confident that you can achieve everything you want to do in your career right here at Georgia Southern, because we believe in you. We want to invest in you. We want you to be here long term and build that reputation and have Georgia Southern be a partner with you throughout that entire process, right? So you've got a leadership team, in terms of our cabinet and the provost and the deans who are strongly supportive of you. There are limitations to what we can do budgetarily or, because of USG guidance or things like that. I mean, there's always going to be those things that we kind of come up against the wall with some things, but where we can, we have a team that's firmly committed to helping, and that certainly extends to our office as well. So I guess one other aspect that I would say just in terms of work-life balance with family is be unconventional. Don't sit on the sidelines and think coulda, woulda, shoulda, oh gosh, if I would have taken that opportunity or whatever, right? Like, go for it. You are absolutely worthy and you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. So you know, engage and take a chance. And I mean, I think the journey is so rewarding, you know, going through academia. We don't make the most money. I mean, none of us went into academia to make the most money. We could have made more money in private industry. We all know that. You join academia because of the lifestyle, right? The kind of life you get to live. And, you know, I mean, again, I'm just using myself as an example, but at the last stop that I had in my academic career, Central Michigan, I'm a vice president for research. You know what I did at 4 o'clock on Tuesdays? I was at the local high school as the courtside announcer for volleyball and basketball games, right? Doing the hype music and introducing the players and all that. Like, I didn't have to do that, but like it was important. It was a way that I could reach out to the community, engage with them, right? And kids really appreciated that. You know, there's so many ways like that that there's like connections between the university and the community or your family. So many different ways that you can engage like that.
Sure. Thank you. Any more questions? Please.
I'll ask one.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Brigitte Britton. I run our aquaponics facility on campus, so
Yeah,
I'm
hi.
actually faculty and staff.
Okay.
So in my role, my job seems to mostly to be facilitating and supporting other people's research, which is great. But what would you suggest to people in roles like mine and similar for other staff around the university?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly never want to take for granted or discount in any way, shape, or form the amazing support we get from staff across campus. They play so many critical roles. And it's always been my policy as an academician to include those folks as full members of my research team. So if I'm publishing a paper and I'm the faculty member and I had some staff members help with that, of course I'm going to include them, right? So just really like, I don't know, working with the faculty members to make sure that you form that kind of cohesive team. It shouldn't be an us and them, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Like you want to have a cohesive unit where all people are valued, regardless of the title you hold. I mean, everybody has a role to play. There's so many different ways in which we can help each other. I think that would be what I would recommend is that.
Cool. And I brought that up partly because the ERGs are a both faculty and staff organization. For staff, a big emphasis is often professional development. Do you feel like a lot of the new grants office initiatives are appropriate for staff as well as faculty?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to tell you, I'm a huge proponent and supporter of professional development. I want to be able to have our staff in our office be able to advance their careers. And sometimes that means gaining a new skill set. Maybe it's a new software platform, gaining a credential, a certification, you know, something like that, that helps to boost their own career and help them move ahead, right? So it's always a tough situation, right? Because you develop people and then sometimes they take a position and maybe moving to the next position involves leaving your office, right? And so on the one hand, you're like, you're kind of bummed out because you've invested a lot in them. But on the other hand, like if you step back a little bit, you're so proud of them, right? That they're moving forward and advancing in their career and like you want them to live their dreams, right? So I'm firmly committed to that. And wherever we can write grants to help in that regard, you know, to help fund some of that professional development, I think that's fantastic. Where we can fund some of that internally and we can send folks to some conferences, I think that's great as well. I mean, what I've kind of told my staff is, listen, if we're having a conference from Nakura or somebody like that, right? And it's in Atlanta, we might send our whole team to Atlanta, right? But if it's going to be in Seattle, Washington, we might only be able to send one person to that. You know what I mean? Like we're reasonable in like if it's in Jacksonville or Orlando or Atlanta, like, you know, those are areas that are closer. Like we can get people there a little bit less expensively. So it's always a balance of like, you know, trying to do the most that you can with the resources you have. But we are firmly committed to helping people advance in their careers through professional development. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody? The floor is open.
Well, I'll tell you this. I make this pitch to my class every time I would teach a class, and I'll make the same pitch to each of you all. If you all are brave enough or bold enough to come have a cup of coffee with me or let me treat you to lunch, it's my treat, please. Okay. I would love to just get to know each of you and where you're coming from and what your background is and your, concerns and how we can help you advance in your careers here at Georgia Southern. And so, without exception, every week I'm going to coffee or lunch with 2 or 3 people a week, just not trying to micromanage, just kind of keep my finger on the pulse of the lifeblood of the university. And so I extend that to each of you all. I'd encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me over there, shoot me an email, instant message me, pick up the phone and call me anytime. I never want to be a vice president who micromanages. I just want to be a vice president who serves and keeps my finger on the pulse of the great people who make our university what it is.
Thank you, David. David, we are already on time. We have around 9 minutes left. But before we go, it's just a question. I'm on the Armstrong side. So I just want to ask you, is there something you're thinking of in terms of, facilities, opportunities, more engagement on the Armstrong side? Because no matter, I hope that's appropriate to say here, that no matter how much we do or what we do, it's like I'm tired of hearing that we are invisible when we are not. We are doing a lot of work, but probably that is because just a quick example, I've heard students coming and saying, we did not know you exist. I said, what do you mean? So, like some sort of a communication. I don't know what is going on, but they say like, I wish I would have known you doing this as an Asianist or, the coordinator. So how can you help us to be more visible when we are already there?
Yep, well received. So first of all, I should tell you, I'm coming to you live today from Armstrong. I'm at my office over here on Mohawk. And so my commitment to you is I am trying personally to be here at the Armstrong campus twice a week. And so typically I'm here on Mondays and Fridays. My office is over at the Savannah Research Center, which is on Mohawk behind the Triangle property, which is just one street over behind Abercorn. But to give you an example, today at 1 o'clock, I was over at the library working with some faculty over there on SciVal training. And so, your vice president is here and is present on this campus, and that is my commitment to you. I have staff here who are here full time. And so I come down regularly and engage with folks. And that also includes, performances that are here. I know we're going to have some musical performances and things of that nature. It is my intent to stay and come for some of those throughout the course of both semesters as well. I can tell you when I first got to Georgia Southern University, I lived in the dormitories, the visiting housing for scholars for 2 months. And I walked this campus forwards and backwards. I played basketball at the rec center, got my steps in every night. I've walked through every building. So I am absolutely aware of the great things going on here and definitely want to be a champion and advocate for everybody here. In terms of the research enterprise, I'll tell you, we have our Savannah Research Center here again on Mohawk, where we have new laboratory space. The Institute for Water and Health is here. All of that is based out of Savannah. So when you think of the high-powered research and stuff that is coming out of the university writ large, I don't want your thought to immediately go to Statesboro, because in fact, we actually do have a lot of really dynamic stuff going on here, both in terms of STEM as well as non-STEM stuff. So my job as your vice president for research is to balance that. I don't ever want it to be an us and them. We did merge. We had a consolidation, and that was years ago before I even got here. So my job is to represent both campuses, and I do that by physically being on both campuses and interacting with faculty. And again, the coffee and lunch offer extends to both campuses. I was having coffee with a faculty member here at Armstrong just last week. So definitely try to get out across both campuses and provide that visibility. Anna, I see you've got your hand up.
Let me unmute myself. Hi, well, thank you so much for this talk. And hi, everyone. I'm Anna Palacios. I am an assistant professor in the College of Public Health in Armstrong. And, with Bridget, we've been really talking about getting to know each other, the faculty who is in Armstrong, and trying to organize opportunities because, we all come from different areas of expertise, and creating these connections is really important. In Savannah, we have a lot of organizations that would absolutely love to work with us in grant submission and to promote the community. And I think that is completely under utilized. So I don't know if this is the right place or time to mention this, but you know, we could follow up to this or design some initiatives.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. You know, the tricky thing is how to balance like being prescriptive and like telling people what to do versus organically letting it grow, right? And so I've always been kind of a firm believer that the organic approach is better, like this group, right? Stick some people together who have some common interests and just let me help pour fuel on the fire, right? Like you guys have a good thing going. Like, what can I do to support you? Like maybe that is helping to get some food, you know, to have an event or a venue or something like that, helping schedule a guest speaker or, you know, whatever. Like you let me know what I can do to help you be as successful as a group as possible and just help to expand your presence and your engagement. I'm all in on those kinds of things. So you know, I've learned previously in my experience, and I'll even use an international example when I tell you this. So many times over the years, I've been at an international university and they've said, we would love to partner with you. We have a faculty member who works in this area. Do you have somebody who can work in that area? And I was like, well, yeah, I do, right? But I can't compel that person to want to partner with you. Like if I go back to my university and say, Dr. So-and-so, I want you to work at this university in, you know, Botswana. They may want to do that, but they may not. And I can't make them do that. It's like telling people who you're going to be friends with, right? So that's why I say like the organic approach of like, hey, when people have kind of a common interest or something they can kind of gather around, I think that's a really good way to sort of organize people. And then let me help just to facilitate and provide some support to really just keep that growing and thriving. But I don't want to be the one that says you, and you. I'm going to put you in a group and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Those kind of things don't work very well typically, you know. So.
Thank you so much. I think we are on time. Do we have any more questions? 3 minutes left.
Oh, I saw, was there some questions in the chat there? Let's see what was in there. Oh, those are just, okay, just great question. Okay. Coffee is always great. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And, you know, hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I'll reach out to Jaskia from OIE and we'll see if we can have you as an advisor for our international ERG. You know, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thanks, Laura. She's also, you know, the co-chair. Laura and I, you know, we work together as co-chair and we have other colleagues. Probably they're teaching a class in Statesboro today. So
sure. Yeah. Well, I just want to say in closing, thank you to everyone for your hard work and everything you do for the university. You know, as a member of the cabinet and on behalf of the president, the provost, and your dean, thank you so much. We don't get to say that enough, but the hard work that everyone does is making a difference. And we're doing amazing things as a university. So collectively, let's keep it up. Thank you for all you do, and hail Southern. Have a great week. Okay.
thank you. Thank you,
Take care,
everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Everyone, please join the International ERG if you haven't yet. We're here and on the Armstrong campus.